Hey guys, how's it going? I am the NAS Blast, here back with a tier list. This time related to the old game I just covered, Spy vs. Spy from 2005. And what better thing to rank than the main weapons from the game? This is kind of a follow-up video to the main video, especially since I have made a mistake in the main analysis of the game. You see, in my entire playthrough of the game, and throughout pretty much my entire life, it seems I've overlooked the fact that you can strafe in the game. Yeah, who would have thought? Yeah, this kind of changes some things up for me. Mainly the difficulty of the game. Probably would have been a lot easier to have known this going in. But hey, I mean, if anything, I've invented a challenge run. Complete the game without strafing. Yeah, give it a shot. This also has an impact on how I look at certain weapons, hence the making of this video. I have went back and I played some more with this newfound knowledge, and have compiled a tier list together, ranking all the weapons purely on how enjoyable they are to use. A lot of these weapons I absolutely hated without strafing. But now, who knows, maybe the guns I thought were the worst are actually the best, and I was just too brain dead to have realized. Well, let's go over the different tiers here first, just so we're all on the same page. Starting on the top here, these are the best of the best, pure enjoyment. Ones that not necessarily are, the best weapons to use, which maybe, some of them may be, but just fun to use. Next down is spicy. Little, not the greatest stuff, but a little pizzazz, a little spice in there for those weapons. And then basic tier, which is straight in the middle, pretty self-explanatory here, basic. And then below that, mediocre, could have been better, not the greatest stuff, but it's in the game for sure. And then on the very bottom, ass. Just, I don't care about using them. I never want to use them. So yeah, we got all that out of the way. Let's go ahead and get into this. First up, we got the bat. Now, this thing is pretty basic. It's just one of the two melee weapons in the game. Has infinite durability, which is good, but it barely does more damage than the basic hand down here. And since we're already talking about it, this is the main weapon you get just starting the game. You always have it. It's just your basic hands, also known as Spy Fu, where you do like karate chops and shit. Mediocre. Basic attack. If it would be basic if it wasn't for the bat, which pretty much does what this does, your basic hands, but slightly better. And I got the stats pulled up too, because I wasn't exactly sure how much damage these things did. But a club, just so you know, does 5 damage, where Spy Fu does 4. So really no difference. I always thought this was a turkey leg too. So yeah, basic stuff right here. Next up is the only other melee weapon in the game, is the chainsaw. It's pretty spicy. My outlook on this doesn't really change too much with the strafing, because strafing mainly only helps like maybe 3 weapons in this whole game. But the chainsaw was already kind of spicy, I'll give it that. It was always kind of scary when someone came running at you with it. It does a lot of damage. It does about 7, which looking back isn't that much better than the bat. 2 more damage. I think the spy has 20 health overall in the game, and it only has 10 uses, so you don't get a whole lot of use out of it, but it is pretty cool. It is satisfying to smack somebody with its blades. So spicy for the chainsaw. Slingshot, pure enjoyment. Right off the bat, it's not bad, man. This is like probably still the best gun in the game. Gun, it's not a gun, but it is probably the best weapon still, even with the strafing knowledge I have. There's no durability on the slingshot, super long range, it ricochets twice off of walls so you can still hit your target, and it pretty much fires as fast as you can press the button, so you can melt people with it. And the slingshot does 2 damage, which I thought would have done a lot more, but with the 2 damage, you can shoot it really fast with precision accuracy. So for that reason, and it's one of the cheapest weapons to buy, you always want to have this on you. Pure enjoyment. Cannot have Spy vs. Spy without the slingshot. Before we get into the rest of these main weapons, let's skip around a little bit. Let's do these. These are the mines. Everything that's yellow is a mine. Like bombs and stuff, minus the bomb. But yeah, dynamite, proximity mine, fire mine. This is dynamite. This is the trip mine, and this is the proximity mine. So these are all of them. And then you got the bear trap and the banana peel. First of all, dynamite. Let's get all these dynamite variants out the way. Dynamite is probably the least cool one. Mediocre, I would say. A lot of these type of items. Same thing with the safe and door traps down here. It's easier to look at them from a multiplayer perspective, because that's when you will really be using them. So if I was playing multiplayer, like I used to, would I be using this? Not really. Worst dynamite type right here, because you have to place it down, and then you kind of choose when to explode it. It's just, compared to these other two, mediocre. Next best one is these. These are the trip mines. These are the ones that have the lasers out, so if someone walks across where the laser is, it explodes. Pretty fun. This is especially fun if you're playing with your friends and you just line them all across his fucking room. Pretty fun watching him try to avoid them. And then of course this is the proximity mine, which it just blows up whenever someone touches it or is near it, which I would suspect is the best type of mine overall. That's pretty much what you're looking for when you have mines. You don't have to be there to explode it when you have the chance. So all three of the mines go in this order on how I enjoy them. The banana peel is probably the worst. The best thing the banana peel is good for is subverting monkey bombs, but realistically, you don't want to have this even in your inventory, dude, because it takes up too much space. You only have a limited amount of space to have, and a banana peel is not worth that slot. So, first ass one right here, banana peel. And right alongside banana peel is the bear trap. Now, the bear trap is a little bit better. It does like almost no damage at all. Same thing with banana peel. But at least the bear trap stuns you a little bit. That's like the main thing, is that when someone steps on it, they're stun locked for, I don't know, like 2 or 3 seconds, maybe 4 seconds. Probably the only stunning thing in the game. Realistically, you're not using it, and it's kind of ass. Better than banana peel, though. And then these other two mines down here, we got the two elemental ones. The fire mine, which is basic, I guess. I mean, it's better than these two down here. It's just a basic fire mine. You step on it and you get lit on fire. Great. The thing is that it either shoots straight up or on the side, kind of like a trip mine with the laser beam. It shoots in a line, so that's its main gimmick. The electric mine is the best one, I think, because it just activates in close proximity, and if you have your friend or the enemy spy or something walk by this, and you have a bunch of them set up, if one goes off, they all go off, and then major shockage to that poor spy. So these two are definitely the best when it comes to mines. Alright, now that we got all those out of the way, let's go take a little bit more back from the real weapons down here. Take a little bits of it at a time as we go through this list. Next up, let's talk about the machine gun. A little bit more interesting topic here, because without the strafing mechanic, it would have been ass or mediocre. Both pretty ass and mediocre, but strafing makes it a little bit better, allowing you to get more damage without having to run away and turn around and fire some more just to run away again and turn around. Strafing does help, and this being one of the few weapons that strafing does affect. I will put it back up to basic. It's probably top tier basic. I still prefer the slingshot, but machine gun is okay. This is probably the definition of basic right here. One that strafing didn't really affect too much at all is the bazooka, which is just pure enjoyment. I mean, you get what you pay for with this thing. I mean, it shoots rockets, and they do a ton of damage, but it's kind of a double-edged sword, because a lot of times you might be doing some of that explosive damage to yourself if you're too close. Pretty fun, especially multiplayer. You can count that most of the people playing are gonna have this on them. So just pure chaos and pure enjoyment. And the last gun here we'll go over before we go off into the, I guess the door traps and safe traps and stuff. We'll talk about the flamethrower, which is the first of the elemental guns here. It's mediocre. I thought it might have been better with the strafing, but not really. Compared to other guns, especially the ones that you have to be kind of close for, it's probably maybe the worst. There's definitely one down here that's better. I'd say it's better than dynamite and better than your hand. But honestly, man, I want to enjoy the flamethrower. Not that great. It takes a long time to... well, at least it seems like it takes a long time to actually kill somebody with it. And you got to be fairly close up. And if you're that close up, it's probably better just to use like a chainsaw or something. Like, out of most of these close-up weapons, the chainsaw is definitely the best. Like, I would rather have this than your hand, a mallet, a flamethrower. You definitely get more bang for your buck with this thing. And because of that, flamethrower just cannot hold up, man. Kind of a shitty gun. Speaking of shitty, let's go over to some of these safe traps. Now, when I rank these safe traps, they all pretty much do the same thing. They're one-hit kills. But it's more so the style. How creative is it? Is it fun to watch someone savagely get murdered by one of these? Hell yeah, some are more creative than others. But let's get the shit ones out of the way first. The shocker and the flambe are ass. I mean, they're basic flame and electricity traps for the safes. You open the safe, you get zapped, and then you get flamed. There's no special animation that plays, nothing too creative. I mean, they're pretty much just these mines, but not as fun to use, because most of the time, you don't even see the enemy get attacked by these. That's the main thing about mine traps, is that you kind of hope that someone eventually gets hurt by them, but you don't get to witness it yourself. So, yeah, complete ass. And I'm going to have to say the same thing about the doorknob, because it's the same thing. It's just zapping, electricity, and you put it on doors. Great. These are essentially the same thing, just put in different places. Now, some of the cooler traps, especially for safes, include... I'd say that this is mediocre, because it doesn't do what you think it would do. I'd imagine this comes out, and the mallet slams down on you, but it kind of just punches out, like the punching glove, which makes the punching glove a little bit better, because you get what you expect when you use it. A giant-ass glove comes out and punches the spy to death, and this just does the same thing, but worse. That's not what you imagine a mallet would do. And I guess coming up with the best is the gorilla glove, because it's just, or this is called a 900-pound gorilla. So you just stuff a gorilla in a safe, and his giant, meaty, muscular arm comes out and just destroys the enemy spy's brain, cracks his skull open, and just sent straight to the fucking morgue. So definitely the best safe trap of them all. And then the other two door traps we got is, I guess the anvil is kind of basic. It falls down, breaks your spy's neck, and they crumple like a piece of newspaper. Pretty interesting. But I gotta say that acid bucket is the best. Just dumping a bucket of acid on the enemy's head as they scream out in pain and fall over slowly, not knowing why this happened to them. It's just, it's brutal. It's probably the most brutal thing to kill somebody with in this entire roster down here. But actually, I'm gonna have to move it up. Pure enjoyment. It's the only trap that's gonna go in pure enjoyment, just because it's crazy watching that go down on somebody, and just fun. Pure enjoyment. And with that, we'll go back down here and talk about a couple more of these. Let's talk about the bombs. This bomb actually does the most damage out of any basic weapon in the game. They're pretty spicy. They have a timer on them, but you can angle them. It's like bowling. You gotta bowl them down a lane to hit the enemy with them, and they bounce off of walls. So yeah, they're a little interesting to use. But the monkey bombs are also just pure enjoyment up here. Put them, I'd say they're probably one of the funnest things, if not the funnest thing to use in the game. The shitty part is that you can only hold 3 of them in your inventory at once, which is just kind of bullshit. I wish you could raise the numbers up and just unleash a horde of monkey bombs onto your enemy. But no, it's only 3. But when you do release them, it's pretty funny, because they're like heat-seeking missiles, and they just chase down the closest spy. And the only hope they have at surviving is throwing a banana peel on the ground. But who, like I said before, who would use a banana peel? Who would have that in their inventory? But yeah, man, monkey bombs, these crazy little monkeys are super fun to use. And shit, I mean, before we go to these last 2 guns, let's go over these items, which are called counters. Yeah, counter items. This is mediocre. The wrench, I mean, it's just basically just you save yourself from a safe trap. I mean, it's bland. Don't know what else to say about it. Most of the time, you're not even going to have this on you. Especially in multiplayer, I can't imagine someone would waste, because I think you can only have 2 counters on you at the same time. And this would just be a waste of 1. A good one would be the decoy, which I'd say is pretty spicy. This is pretty much like if you wander into a stage trap, this will die instead of you. But it plays a cool little animation where a green hologram spy shows up and takes the death for you. So at least that makes it interesting, changing up the animations and stuff. Going back down to ass is this, which I guess I've never actually used this whenever I used to play. And I recently did use it, but it pretty much just sends you back to the beginning of a main challenge. Like if you die in a challenge, you get sent back to that at the beginning, instead of getting sent back all the way to your room. So I guess in that aspect it's okay, but it's really not that useful. I'd rather have the decoy and of course the helmet, which is just, you need to have this on whenever you can. Gives you like more health, pretty much a shield. And it's just one of those basic things, like, if you can afford it in your game, have this on you at all times. There's no reason not to. And yeah, with that, that's all the counters ranked. I like to spread out each category across the board, representing each tier of that said category, instead of just putting all the shitty door traps down here. I want to spread out a little bit. And talking about some more shitty things, let's go over one more gun before we go over the last one here. The freeze ray, I will be honest, is pretty mediocre, unfortunately. I'd say it's better than the flamethrower, maybe. I don't know. The aspect of this being like the one like unlockable gun in the game, the one you don't start out with. I think the chainsaw too, but as far as like actual guns, this one is the one you can't use in story mode and only in multiplayer when you beat the game, making it a little bit more interesting. Always thought it was a cool weapon as a kid just because of that aspect, but really using it, it's not that great. Like, but it's a different type of gun. It doesn't do base damage. What it essentially does is you use it as like pretty much a freeze ray. It slowly starts freezing a spy where they start moving slower and slower, but it doesn't do any damage to them until they fully freeze, and then they crack and die instantly. So it's like a one-hit kill, but it takes a long time to use it. And in that time, it's better to use a weapon that damages. Like, shit, man, honestly, the flamethrower. I'd have to say that the flamethrower is actually better. Even though I don't like it as much, theoretically, I would say it's better. Just because I'll take damage over time rather than waiting a long time to do like one final hit. So yeah, these two elemental guns, although they look cool, I don't think they're that great. And there's probably going to be some people that are super into this game, which I don't blame you, dude. I love this game too. But there's going to be people that definitely say that some of these guns and weapons should definitely be like the best of the best. And I'm probably overseeing something, but like, I haven't played multiplayer in a long time. I'm going based off of fighting AIs in multiplayer, and then my memories of like being 8 years old playing this game with friends. So that is what I'm going based off of. If they had some kind of online mode I could play now, hell yeah, dude, I'd give it a shot. But unfortunately, they do not. So these guns are gonna have to go down here, and let's go over these actually. And I have hand on here twice, 2 hands. Let's go over these items, these special items, before we get to the final gun here. Now, these are the items that you get in modern mode. There's some other things in classic mode, like a briefcase, other counter items that don't really matter too much, like an umbrella. You know, it's specifically for classic, and those are specifically counters for other specific items, like the umbrella for the acid bucket, shit like that. So really no point in me ranking them. I played modern. I'm a modern guy. But the first of all, the money bags is, I mean, it's mediocre. These aren't really items you use, but they're more of like passive things that affect your spy. The money bags essentially just gives you more money when you get money. I mean, it's nice to have, but it really doesn't change the game too much. The remote is nice. It's probably basic. It just allows you to see where people have placed traps, so it's definitely handy. And then the key is pretty spicy. It essentially just allows you to open any locked door in the game, which makes it easier to get the other items down here, all 4 of them, because you need to get all 4 items to beat the game. So this is, if you want to get one first, this is probably the best one to get. And then the one that I think is actually the funnest to use, like actually changes the mechanics of the game a little bit, is the mask. The mask is the funnest one to use by far. It allows you to enter other spies' rooms, which you just could not before. You get electrocuted by their security system or whatever. It makes the game a lot more interesting because you get people that can just enter your room, place bombs and shit. And it makes it a lot more unfair, don't get me wrong, but it makes it a lot more funny. And you can just fuck around and goof off. And just, like what I used to do is put the mask on, go in there and just start putting trip mines and proximity mines in there. And trust me, dude, they would get pissed off. And they do it to me too. I'm not the bad guy here. We do it to each other. But that was just how you played this game. Just making people mad. Which, I mean, is ironic considering it's MadTV. So, I mean, yeah. Make your opponent mad. That is the gimmick of the game. And before we end it off, let's talk about this final gun here, which is the one that is most changed by the strafing mechanic. Without strafing, this gun would have been ass. Just because this gun works to where you shoot it and it attracts itself to the closest spy. And if you're turning around trying to run away from people, the thing doesn't really like line up that well. But if you're strafing, This thing just melts people's health. It's actually insane. The strafing makes this gun go from ass to pretty much pure enjoyment up here. Honestly, still like the rocket launcher and slingshot and monkey bombs better. But yeah, this gun essentially is just cracked, which is the biggest change out of all of this after my newfound knowledge. So yeah, it just zaps their health, dude. It attaches to them. The closest spy you're facing, it just locks onto them and they can't really dodge it. And it's like immediate damage too. It just melts them and it's insane. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. That is ranking all of the main items from this game. I thought I'd make this list just because of my mistake from the original analysis. So I hope this kind of makes up for it. People are probably still going to be pissed off at certain things. They're probably going to say that the freeze ray is actually top tier. But this is just my list of how I find enjoyment out of these items. In all honesty, this is like now a 20-year-old game. Literally, it's 2025 now. And this was 2005, so it doesn't really matter. It's a very niche tier list, but I just wanted to make this for me to kind of right some wrongs. But anyway, this was another nasty tier list video. I got some more in the works. I got some more analysis videos in the works too. I will see you guys soon, and have a nasty night. Peace out.